called Highway 61
Wasn't
Revisited.
that who he was?
Yeah, but
In the middle of America?
yeah, right. So, the like I always think like really one of his key songs is Highway 61 Revisit, and he tells the story of God and Abraham. Okay, and it's God said to Abraham, "Kill me a son." Abe said, "Man, you must be putting me on." God said no. Abe said, "What?"
Right.
God said, "You can do what you want, Abe, but the next time you see me coming, you better run."
You gotta do that
Abe
song.
and Abe said, "Where you want this killing done?" And God said, "Out on Highway 61."
Oh my God.
You
You
know.
have to do that one. And then
Yeah.
you should sing it.
I
think you
can't
should
say.
do 3.
Yeah.
I think you should talk about maybe 3 songs and sing one of them. Or do like a little bit of each of
Yeah.
them and end with.
Okay. We'll put it together over the
Start
week.
doing the nigun.
Okay.
We're such a cozy little group tonight. It's kind of nice. You're all spread out. That's always the way it is. So just starting with this nigun, we haven't officially begun services yet, but we're going to just relax into it. Try it with me. One more time. Now this part. Again.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
So just a few logistical announcements as people are being seated. Hopefully everyone has grabbed a prayer book on their way in. We have large print prayer books available on the right, hearing assisted devices in the office as you walk in on the right. Our usher this evening is Larry Westreich. If you need anything, he can direct you on where you need to go. If you need bathrooms, they're outside to the right, though all gender and handicap accessible bathrooms are through the office toward the back. If for some reason tonight you need an emergency exit, notice there's the exit you walked in, but as well, there's an exit here, and if you were to walk through those doors, you'll find an exit in the back. And if you're new here, don't be shy about turning to someone near you and asking if you get lost where we are on the page or in the prayer book. That way we can all follow along, both literally and figuratively. So in a moment, we're going to move into our service. And I was realizing the other day just how late it really gets light out. You know, there's this moment usually in kind of the late spring, right before summer begins, where you kind of realize just how light it really is when we begin these 6:30 services. And by the way, there is a halakha, there's a kind of a teaching, a law that says that one must have windows in a place where they pray. And yes, probably practically it's so that you can look outside and you can see, is it light? Is it getting dark? So that you're not completely trapped. But also it's so that you have this avenue to the outside world. We don't want to be shut off. There's a moment, for example, where you realize in The Little Mermaid, Ariel, for example, has her world, and then there's the other world. And that's not the way that you want to think in Judaism. You don't want, for example, to feel like there is the world we create here and then there is an outside world. Rather, they're integrated. And those windows become a literal doorway, a literal window into linking one versus the other. And so don't be shy as tonight rolls around of being inspired by the prayers that you see to think about that outside world. To think about how you can get the resolve to make that world a little bit better, to think about how you can get the vision to create the world that you want to see. What we do in here is not solipsistic. It's not all about this world we create. Instead, it's about forming a bridge from this world into the world out there. We're going to turn to page 24. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
Boachem לשלום,
Baruchem L'Shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
Shalom,
Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Malachi Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
צאתכם לשלום,
צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, המלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, המלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, 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 הקדוש ברוך הוא.
So as we do each week, we usher in Shabbat with the lighting of our candles. And on Thursday of this week, Ethan Miller will become bar mitzvah here in a morning service, in a shacharit service. And so in honor of that, I want to call him, along with his nuclear family, up to light our candles and to lead us in Kiddush. We're on page 2 and 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, So may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav metzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodshan be'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim
Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu.
Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim, take a little sip. What do you think? Pretty tasty? Good. Excellent. Shabbat shalom, and we'll see you on Thursday.
So we're going to move forward now in our prayer books. We're on page, actually, we're going to turn our attention to the screen. As together we count those days that we've been counting from the holiday of Passover until Shavuot, called the Omer.
We're back to that beautiful melody, but we're going to sing it with these words here or sing it on La La La, whichever one works. L'shem yichud kudsha b'richu shchinateh hineni mukhan umezuman לקיים מצוות תעשה של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר. 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה. ברוך אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר. היום 32 יום שהם 4 שבועות ו4 ימים לעומר, Today is the 32nd day, 4 weeks and 4 days of the Omer, which means that tomorrow night is Lag BaOmer. So if we forget to tell you about that, remind us to tell you about Lag BaOmer tomorrow night. May it be a good week for us all. Amen.
Amen. We're on page 20 as we join together in Lachadoti.
Lechadodi likrakala yarara yalala yalala b'nei Shabbat nekabela yidai lechadodi likrakala yarara yala 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Let's hear you. Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor ha'bracha, merosh mikerem mesucha, sof ma'aseh b'mat Shabbat chila lechadoti lirat kala yara yala Verse 5, Hitoreri.
Rise up on our feet.
Verse 9.
And we sing a boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uvitzola toch Amam segula boi chala lechadodi likirat kala yarara yalala yalala ne Shabbat nekavela Kala yarara yalala yalala b'nei Shabbat nekabela yidai lechadodi likrat kala yarara yalala b'nei Shabbat nekabela yidai lechadodi likrat פני שבת, פני שבת, נקבלה.
We remain standing, page 28.
Yai, 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 yai. Yai, 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 yai. Join us.
Yai, nai, nai, yai, nai, nai, nai. Yai, nai, 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 nai.
Yai, 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 yai. Adonai HaMevorach
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam, le'olam, le'olam va'ed.
We're going to turn our attention to the screen for creative rendition of this next prayer, Ma'ariv Aravim.
Anyone here in our religious school that knows the hand motions, that wants to do these hand motions, I invite you to rise and do them. They're really fun, and actually if Joshua does them, then the other people in the room can do them. All right, don't do them. Joshua, you do them, dude. I want to see them. Roll into dark, roll into light. Can we see them? Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns. You can keep that going.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to
night. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim.
Page 32.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו
ובהם נגע יומם ולילה
יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים.
ברוך אתה ata Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך ולטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. We move forward in our prayer book now to page 40 as we join together of the Song of Freedom, Michamocha.
Oh, sorry. So, hold on, wait,
Oh,
sorry.
that was going to be a little high for all of us. It's okay, though. There we go. But I got the note right. No. Oh my gosh, now we're really low. Michamocha Ba'elim Adonai Mikamocha Nedar B'Kodesh Nora Anu ve'ameru Adonai Imloch leolam va'ed כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל.
We're on page 43 on the bottom. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל ימו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Bottom of page 44.
Oh,
Bottom of page 44. Is that it?
yes, ma'am.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונש אבות ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונש שבת מקדשי שבי שבת כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מדברך שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונש שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת חמדת ימים חמדת ימים קראת והשביעי רצית בו וצית בו וקידשנו שבת חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
We rise together, page 46, and after this opening meditation, I'll invite us to move into silence through page 62. You can either pray the traditional words on the page or whatever words are in your heart.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Together.
Maybe take one more collective breath. Just land our prayerful plane together in this place of peace, this space that both asks that we may know peace and also recognizes the peace that is right here. Turn to page 60. Shalom Rab Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rab Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם, לעולם, לעולם.
As we do each week, we add a special prayer for the state of Israel, a prayer that shows all the many facets of how many of us are feeling. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we ask that you bless the state of Israel and all of Israel's inhabitants. Makor Chaim, source of life, bless and strengthen those who defend the land and ensure their safe and speedy return home. Protect them and guide them. Kadosh Baruch Hu, Holy and Blessed One, show Israel's leaders your paths so they may act with wisdom, courage, and dedication, and that they may be unwavering in their pursuit of peace. Strengthen their hearts, but keep their hearts from hardening. Adonai Poked, God who remembers, there are more than 100 people currently being held in Gaza who are thought to be alive, included Oded Lifshutz, 83, Guy Gilboa Dalal, 22, Eviatar David, 23, Nama Levi, 19, Bipin Joshi, 23, Eden Alexander, 19, Nathanpong Pintha, 35, Shiri Bibas, 32, Yarden Bibas, 34, and their sons Ariel, 4, and Kafir, 1. Matira Surim, freer of captives, return all those who are kidnapped safe and sound to their homes, without the spilling of more innocent blood, without any more souls being tarnished by horrific acts. Baal HaRachamim, master of compassion, help us to hold the humanity and the heartache of the Jewish people, of all the residents of the state of Israel, while also holding the humanity and dignity of the Palestinian people. As we are made in your image, remind us of your ways. Spread over us a shelter of peace and fulfill the vision of your prophets. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. They shall never again know war.
Amen.
We're going to turn to page 253 as our hearts go out to those who we are thinking about who are in need of healing. And as my eyes go around the room, I'll invite you to share names of people for whom you are thinking, as in a moment we're going to see those names scroll across the screen.
Sheberach avotim mikor habracha le'imoteinu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imoteinu mikor habracha le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of the spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. I remember it was around this time of year in 2007, and I was working as a legislative assistant for the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, which is the social justice arm of the Reform movement. And every other year at the time, we put together a big social justice conference called the Consultation on Conscience. It's a conference where people came together and talked about some of the most important issues that were facing our nation and the world. We heard from elected officials, and we strategized about what synagogues could do about it. And I remember it was Shabbat, and I was actually helping to lead some of the music. And up walked the head of the Commission of Social Action, Rabbi Marla Feldman. And she got up, and I was relatively new to hearing rabbis give good sermons. At this point, I've heard enough of them that I really am not wowed very much by my peers. But you just get used to it after a while. But I sat there and listened to her give this phenomenal sermon about the genocide happening in Darfur. And she linked it with this kind of almost literary refrain back to the idea of counting, to this time that we are in right now where we count every single day from Passover all the way until Shavuot, 7 weeks straight of counting. And she talked about what it meant to count, to look at the totals of those people who were perished in Darfur, the violence in Darfur, and to count and watch those numbers tick up and up and up, almost in the same way as the numbers were ticking up and up and up for Omer. And I walked up to her afterwards, and I said to her, wow, what an amazing sermon. Everything about that was perfect. You crafted that unbelievably. And she looked at me and she said, it's recycled. And I said, well, what do you mean it's recycled? And she said, it's the same exact sermon that I gave for Kosovo, and it's the same exact sermon I gave for Rwanda. This is now the 3rd time that I'm giving this sermon. And I thought about that, and it broke my heart. And in a way, I've been thinking as we've been in Omer about what exactly that sermon means for this time period we are in as well. One of the things about war is that often we pay attention to numbers. And I have been obsessed with numbers. I've been obsessed, for example, with counting on October 7th exactly how many people perished. I've been obsessed with counting how many of our hostages got out, how many remain, and of adjusting that in my mind, that number of hostages, as, for example, this week, 7 of them were returned, unfortunately not living. I've been obsessed with numbers. And I've been obsessed with numbers wholly. I've been obsessed with numbers of Palestinian casualties too. For me, numbers have been one of the defining features of this Gazan war for me. And so I imagine that in the same way, that in the same spirit that she spoke, there's something about this conflict that feels to me completely tied to the fact that we are just counting and counting and counting right now at this time of year. But I want to pause for a second, and I want to ask ourselves, what guidance does our Jewish tradition have to give about the fact that she's given that sermon 3 times? That she probably could find a way to give that sermon in this time period too. And that unfortunately, and I promise you it is true, she will have occasion throughout her life to give that sermon again for some other conflict. She probably could have given it for the war in Ukraine right now. She could have given it to the war in Syria a few years ago. That there's no shortage of things in this world to count. Casualties to count. Suffering to count. Well, when you think back to what she said to me, the truth is we live in a world of cycles. And by the way, the Jewish tradition doesn't abide by cycles. The great revolution of the Jewish tradition is that it broke the idea that time is circular. Before Judaism came around, every other nation, every other world lived itself in the idea that things just kept happening again and again. That there wasn't the sense of history. There wasn't a sense that something happened in the past which shaped the present, which then will shape the future. Time was not linear but circular. And in fact, if you look at, for example, Greek mythology or some of those other, or Roman mythology, or many of the other traditions that exist that are ancient too, I would call them fundamentally more circular than linear. But Jews are not that. Jews want to break cycles. They understood that there was a moment in time where we were slaves and then we were free, and that shaped us to become the people we would be, and we will continue on that path until one day the world is perfected with the coming of the Messiah. And by the way, you may not believe in a Messiah itself, but you can at least believe that there is some kind of better place, some promised land for us to get to, even if we create it ourselves. Time is linear, it is not secular, it need not always appear again and again. The same sermon need not be given again and again. And if you look at this week's Torah portion, we see the recipe to break the cycle. In this particular case, it's just one cycle. It's the cycle of poverty. But it's true, and it happens. If I own land, and my family has owned that land from time immemorial, and I need to sell that plot of land because I become destitute, our Torah portion this week says, every 50 years, in a period of time known as the Jubilee, I can get that land back. That cycle can end. And I get a fresh start again to try to not make the errors that I did before. To not let the world walk on me as it did before. To try to make it so that I get a fresh start. That in a way, I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have to worry day after day where my next meal will come from. I get in those 50-year reprieves a chance to try again and to break the cycle. If our Torah portion teaches us anything, it is possible to break difficult cycles. And there is no cycle perhaps more difficult than the violence and the hatred that exists in Israel itself between the Israel people and the Palestinian people. But I have to believe that there is a way out of it. I was interviewed this week by PBS, and during the interview, I was a little bit surprised. Normally, when these interviews happen, they ask you a question, and they go, and then they ask you another question, and they go, and you actually have no idea whether it's landing or not, because they're going to splice it together into something else. But this particular guy, it felt a lot more like what you find on like a CNN or an MSNBC when you're live, where he was pushing back and he was asking questions. And so I said to him, look, I believe that one day we will get out of this cycle. I believe that one day we will figure out a pathway toward peace. I don't know what that looks like, but I do believe. And he went, And then he pushed back. And he said, do you actually believe that? Everything you've learned, everything you've seen in the past number of years throughout your life and as a student of history, do you actually believe that we are going to break this and get out? And I looked at him through the screen and I said, yeah. Because in my mind, I have hope. And hope need not necessarily be rational. Hope need not necessarily be fair. Hope need not necessarily be founded in fact. I'm not optimistic it's going to happen anytime soon. But you better believe I'm hopeful. And you better believe the only way that we can get out of this is to have enough people who have an audacious belief that doesn't make sense, so that maybe they'll have the resolve to actually push. I hope our leaders in Israel will believe. Because if they can, there is a way to break that cycle. Our Torah teaches us to break that cycle. I want to see a world where that sermon never gets written again about Israel. And then I want to see a world where that sermon never gets written about the world at large. I want to find a world where we bring about that better place, that messianic era, that we can actually beat our swords into plowshares, our spears into pruning hook. That lion and lamb, those natures within us that seek to rage and hurt one another, can somehow lie down together in the vision of our prophets. I believe truly that we can break that cycle and we can get there. And it begins first with hope. And so tonight, let us just imagine. Let us hope. Let us put away the buts and the maybes. Let us put away the can'ts. And let us just dream. And then that cycle will dissolve. And time will move forward, marching to that better place, that promised land. Shabbat shalom. We're going to rise together as we turn toward the conclusion of our service, page 282 for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts now turn to those who we have loved and who we've lost As I call the name of your loved one, I'll invite you to rise in your seat, honoring their memory. This Shabbat, we recall the following individuals: Maxwell Amazon, Rebecca Busin, Isidore Charney, S. Herman Cohen, Harriet Epstein, Saul Feig, Anna Feingold, Beatrice Frankel, Max Frost, Paula Gash, Stanford Gilbert, Rose Goldberg, Hyman Goldstein, Hilda Gordon, Linda Grishman, Max Hirsch, Julius Hirsch, Anna Ivner, Edward Jackson, Louis Kahn, Morris Kirschenbaum, Henry Kolb, Daniel Crone, Mary Kroloff, Abraham Krulowitz, Mamie Levine, Edward Marcus, Rachel Maliker, William Mooney, Lieutenant Colonel Milford Nealis, Irene Newman, Lester Newman, Ellen Phillips, Rachel Post, William Manny Pressman, Harriet Proper, Barry Lee Protus, Max Rosen, Hyman Schleien, Jules Donald Shore, Martin Siegel, Abraham Slater, Nellie Solomon, Louis Steyer, and Sophie Wolitz. And those who are in their Shloshim periods of mourning: Walter Rakowski, remembered by Diane Horowitz. We also add names of people who may not have been on this Kaddish list, but who you are observing the 1-year yard site for, or you are within your 1 year of mourning for, as my eyes go around the room.
Melinda Melman Siegel, June Melman, and Ann Crandell.
We rise together, joining those who are risen, as together we turn to page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach yirtzeh v'yamlich malchuteh,
בחיי חון וביום חון ובחיי כל בית ישראל,
בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמה רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמם ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום על רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, כל שבטיו ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. So a few announcements. So tomorrow morning services are at 10 a.m. It's a holiday weekend. I'm a little bit worried about making a minyan. If you can help me make a minyan, I would really appreciate it. We actually have a kind of cool sermon-esque experience as part of services. Dan Herman, who's a member of our congregation, has been pushing me for the past couple of years to read books on biblical criticism, like basically like the scholarly answer to where the Bible came from, which I've, never really found religious meaning in and worked very, very hard to try. And finally, we read a book together where I think I understand what's religious about biblical criticism. And so instead of just an academic pursuit. And so we're going to be in conversation with each other about the question, what is so religious about biblical criticism, about knowing, for example, some random text was written in this era of the Babylonian exile or something like that.
I mean, you're bursting everybody's bubbles right now.
Yes, so we'll talk about that, which is actually kind of an important thing if you like scholarship, to ask the question why. So hopefully you can join us for that conversation. That's going to be at services, and at the very least, help us make the minyan. We have a full series of programs coming up on Saturday night, so tomorrow night. It is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the month of Omer, which is itself a holiday. It's actually where a cycle was broken. Rabbi Akiva had students who were all dying of a plague on the 33rd day of Omer. And by the way, Omer we count partly as a way to it's a period of mourning because we remember those students. The plague finally lifted on that 33rd day. And so it's a day of celebration. And we're going to be at B'nai Keshet, raising money for Israel, and just enjoying ourselves. So hopefully you can join us there. Pride Shabbat is a week from today. Kendra.
Pride Shabbat is where you all need to be, which is Friday night, June 7th. This year we are bringing Julian Hornick. He is a wonderful contemporary musical theater composer and performer, pianist, singer. He writes from a gay male perspective, all of his musicals, and we're going to have some of that music that night, as well as other Broadway favorites. It will be very prayerful, though not in Hebrew mostly, because most of the musical theater is not in Hebrew.
Perfect.
Yep.
So
Please come, and the potluck dinner, and it's really going to be excellent, a beautiful night. And actually, Daniel Rosenblum and Tamima Friedman are sponsoring the evening, so please come and help us. There's other fun Pride events, so look them up.
And earlier that week, on the 4th and the 5th, we have two wonderful speakers, each back to back. On the 4th, we're co-sponsoring with many of the other synagogues. It's going to be at Shomrei. It's going to be Noah Satah, who is basically like the social justice warrior in Israel. She's the one who's like suing to make sure that the ultra-Orthodox establishment doesn't put women on backs of buses. Like, she is the social justice warrior in Israel. And she is
A good speaker.
a really great speaker, and is coming to Shomrei, and we're co-sponsoring that event. In addition, the next day, we have Mayor Raz Baraka, who is the mayor of Newark, and he's going to be coming to speak here. We've been getting, even though that most of them haven't announced yet, we've been getting all the candidates who likely will be announcing for governor at some point soon. He will be one of them. 2 weeks later, we're also getting Steve Fulop, who is the mayor of Jersey City, who will also be announcing for governor. And so if at all you want to kind of get a sense of who these characters are, as a way to try to understand who you're going to vote for a
By
year from now.
characters, he means people.
Yes. Come to the different talks that we're going to be having, our Temple Talk series, and come find out.
Fantastic. And our final bit of information is that Bob Melman up here texted me earlier and said, hey, did you know? What did you text me?
It's Bob Dylan's birthday.
And
today.
I said, no, Bob, I didn't know that. That's cool. Do you want to sing a song by the great sage? And he said, I definitely do. So we're going to do one.
So the song is Forever Young, and I think a lot about how Bob Dylan has adapted, appropriated, done whatever he will do with
Made it his
biblical
own.
text, from turning it into a little comedy routine in Highway 61 to, this adaptation of the priestly blessing. And it's a beautiful little song. And
They probably know it.
I think you probably do. And I was thinking about what the rabbi had said earlier, and that you always maintain this hope. And the song Forever Young, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to move on stage like Mick Jagger does at age 80 last night. But I think it does mean that you maintain a sense of wonder and a sense of hope. And so let's all stay
do
forever
it.
young. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung, and may you stay forever young. Everybody, forever young, forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous. Stand upright and be strong, and may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy, and may your feet always be swift. May you have a sound foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful, and may your song always be sung, and may you stay forever young.
Sing with us.
Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And happy birthday, Bob.